Poppy was one of the most supportive people I've ever known, and he lived to throw his support behind anyone who was willing to work hard for what they wanted. When it came to us grandkids and the things we loved to do, he took every opportunity to go to a water polo match or a swim and dive meet, wrestling match or gymnastics meet, choir concert, a talent show, or a club event, even those few soccer games, and of course every baseball and football game. He may have recorded every M's and Seahawks game to yell at in the privacy, or maybe not so privacy, of his own home, but anytime he came across one of our other sports on TV, you could count on a text or a call from him letting you know what channel it was on, and he would set aside time to talk with you about what you knew about a sport he didn't know too much about. But this is what really made him special to so many people. His ability to make genuine connections with others and make them feel like their journey is important to more than just themselves. It wasn't until I was a bit older, maybe starting my junior year in high school, but definitely as I progressed through college and towards the end of my master's, that I really got to spend time getting to know Poppy as a person. His experiences and stories and intellectual interests beyond the grandparent who was the ever-present cheerleader throughout my youth. As he would tell me more about his seemingly modest ambitions as a teacher, ecologist, and conservationist, he became one of my biggest inspirations and sounding boards for the directions of my studies, my career goals, and how I'd begin to shape my perspectives. He was a truly inspirational person in my life, but not because he took a path that I aspired to follow. It was because he encouraged me to take a path that had not existed for him. Even if that meant there wasn't really a path yet, he would do his best to look ahead and offer some clarity and confirmation that forward was the best and only way.
Grandpa was always the most supportive person of anything I wanted to do. He was at every sports game and would even pull up on the side of the road in his car before the sun came up just to watch me and my friends hunt ducks. He taught me some of life's most important lessons that shaped my character into who I am today. Respect, humility, and work ethic were most important. If it wasn't for the time I spent with Grandpa, I wouldn't be where I am today and have accomplished the things that I have in my life.
From the moment I first met Poppy, I automatically became one of his grandchildren. There was no question about it. I never knew what it was like to be loved by a grandparent, and Poppy didn't hesitate to show me. He always showed me the same love as all of his other grandchildren, and that is something I will never forget. I didn't get to grow up as having Poppy as a cheerleader at my games or school events, but that didn't stop him from cheering me on from the sidelines when it came to me achieving my goals. Whenever I was in town, I loved our special time together. Poppy would work all day long in the kitchen whipping up sushi that was secretly from trappers, and we would sit in the living room with a sports game on in the background and we'd just talk. I loved hearing his old stories because I learned so much about the man who impacted so many lives. Poppy's legacy will always live on, and I'm so lucky I got to call him my Poppy, and I will always be his Donner.
The hardest part about these past 2 weeks has been realizing I can't pick up the phone to call or text Poppy. He would usually answer the phone saying, "Joe's Bar and Grill," or "What's cooking good looking," and end it with big hugs and "see you around like a donut." A lot of times you would get a call from Poppy that was clearly a butt dial, and if you didn't answer, you got a 7-minute voicemail of nothing. But then he would call back right away to apologize and check on you, so I think he may have done this on purpose. No matter what the call was about, I was always happier after hearing his voice. He was the very first person I would call with good news whenever I felt homesick or needed to be cheered up. He was always so excited to talk no matter what it was about. He would text Taylor and I about the Mariners almost every time they were playing. Honestly, I only paid attention to each game long enough to have something to text him back about. The only thing Poppy loved more than watching sports was watching his grandkids. Even though I pretty much sucked at every sport I tried, he was still my biggest fan. He was at every single science fair, school play, choir concert, academic awards ceremony, you name it. You would never know how much he would rather be on a field of some sort. I only knew how proud he was. He supported all of us in absolutely everything we did and was always there cheering us on. I don't know if the story would be the same if any of us chose to play soccer, but we didn't dare do that to him. He had a way of making each of us feel special and like we were the most important person in the world to him, even though we know he loved us all the same. Poppy's encouragement and unconditional love is what got me through college. When life got real and I realized that becoming an adult is hard, Poppy was always there to tell me I was doing just fine and not to stress the small stuff. He would say, "If anyone can do it, it's my Susu." Just thinking of him kept me going, and my biggest motivation has always been to make him proud. It won't be the same not being able to fill him in or hear his voice, but I know he's still with me every day, more proud than ever, and I can do it for him.
My grandpa was always there. He was always there to give us a ride to swim practice. He was always there when we were sick and my parents couldn't stay home from work. He was always there cheering us on at games, even when it was McKenna's cheer competitions. He was always there to check in and tell us how much he loved us. When I would come and visit from college, I would sit with him and watch whatever game was on for the night. He would tell me the same story. It was the story of his college football coach, Coach Elway. My grandpa was going to school for business at the time, and his coach brought him into his office and asked him, "What the hell are you doing, Hoonan?" He told my grandpa that he needed to be a teacher or a coach instead of a businessman, that it was worth more money than he would ever make, and that he was meant to be a leader. I heard the same story many times, but I could never tell it like he did. I think he was telling me that I was on the right path, and I had the same teaching gene that he had. I've been around a lot of good people in my life, but if there's one person that I want to make proud with the life I live, it's him. My mom, my aunts, and the rest of my family carrying on his selfless attributes, and I think that's all he wants for us. I couldn't have asked for a better grandpa. Smiles for mouths.
My grandpa Pat was my hero. He fought for years to make it to his 80th birthday, to give his family a day they could never forget. When life got tough, he was stronger. He always had my back, and always had wise words for whatever situation I might have been in. The mornings I stayed at his house, he would go out of his way to make sure I had a coffee waiting for me, along with a new story he needed to tell me, even if I'd already heard it. Poppy taught me how to respect even when none is given, and that there's always something to learn. I loved every second I spent cleaning his car or pressure washing his driveway, because I knew he wasn't very far supervising my work. I will always cherish our trips to the duck shack in the middle of fall just to check on it. I go out and get some lunch while he sat on the porch, just watching the tide.
All right, Grandpa. It's your favorite box. It's where you love to be. This is where you start us all out hunting. This is where you belong. This is where you rest. We love you. Love you, Pat. Love you, Pat. Love you, Pappy. Ready? Ready? Aim. Fire.